Hello and welcome to another review here, and it's another classic review, and with Star Wars Episode 8 coming out tonight. I wish I was there. Anyway, with it coming out tonight, I thought I'd go back and watch and review one of the greatest, if not the greatest, sequel of all time, Star Wars Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back. But before I get into the review, I have to say, spoiler alert, I know everybody and their mother and their toddler child knows what happens in Empire, but still gotta say the spoiler alert. We're also on. We're the channel also has a new Facebook page. It's facebook.com/ccinemareviews page. So check us out there. We're also on Twitter @ccinemareviews. So tell me your thoughts whenever and wherever you want. Last thing is, don't be afraid to hit that subscribe button if you've enjoyed this and want to see more like this in the future. With that being said, let's get into the review. So Star Wars Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back. Directed by Irvin Kershner this time. John Williams, amazing score. Honestly, John Williams is probably the best part of Star Wars because he has done an amazing job with his score and making music for this series all throughout the entire saga. So it's always nice to hear his score, no matter even what franchise he's scoring, because he's just so good. You have all your characters coming back, of course, but this movie does something that I hope and I'm pretty sure that Episode 8 is going to do, and that is subverting our expectations. This movie, it reminds me very much. There was a movie that came out in 2013 that was based on Steve Jobs, and it starred Michael Fassbender. And that movie, there was one line that Steve Jobs says, and the line is, "People don't know what they want until you put it in front of them." And that's something that really, it's stuck with me, and it absolutely applies to this movie. Irvin Kershner and George Lucas, they knew what we want, or what we wanted from this movie before we did. They knew that we wanted good characters. They knew that we wanted more backstory with the Emperor, with Lando, with Boba Fett coming back. Or I don't think he was in Episode 4. He wasn't in Episode 4. But with Boba Fett, they knew something that we did not know. They knew what we wanted before we got it, and that's something that is so, it works so well because they subvert our expectations all the time. In Episode 4, you had your classic hero's journey. You had your young character he meets an old wise man. There's a princess. It's classic. But that one, everything seems to happen. Everything except for Obi-Wan Kenobi's death seems to be, step by step, a very easy thing to almost predict. But this movie does it so well in that in 1980, nobody could have predicted that Darth Vader was Obi-Wan was Luke's father. Nobody could have predicted that. Nobody could have predicted that the little puppet, a little Yoda, would be the master, the Grand Master of the Jedi. Nobody would have predicted that, and that's something that this movie does so well. It subverts your expectations. You expect one thing, and it gives you what you actually wanted, even though you didn't even know you wanted it. And this movie, not only does it expand upon what happens in Episode 4, but it also sets up what's going to happen in Episode 5. And that's something it's really difficult to make your movie and make it a solid movie that can stand on its own. But Empire does stand on its own. If you never watched another Star Wars movie and you watched Empire, you would still get all the story. You would still get all the history. You wouldn't be, scratching your head at the end of it saying, what happened? You would understand what was going on. And this movie is so well done, from the directing, from the acting. Honestly, everybody that acts in the movie that was in the first movie or in Episode 4, they bring it up a notch. Harrison Ford brings it up a great notch with his love, the romance between him and Carrie Fisher as Leia. Mark Hamill brings it up a notch, absolutely, just far and beyond, because if he doesn't have good reactions, if he doesn't have good chemistry with Yoda, a puppet, the movie doesn't work. And so everything was just brought up another notch. And budget also was brought up another notch. Darth Vader was fleshed out even more. It's just they took everything that we liked in episode 4 and was like, here, let's just make it better. Let's talk a little bit about our characters. Yes, I already talked somewhat about Han and Leia and Luke and Yoda. But you guys, this is something that again, I'm probably going to say this a lot, but I don't mind if episode 8 takes some things from episode 5. And I don't mean it in the way that, oh, it's just going to borrow plot, where you have Rey who goes off, finds Luke, and Luke trains her, but she quits her training to go help Poe and Finn. And then at the very end, she finds out that Kylo Ren is her dad. That's not what I'm saying. That's not what I want to happen. I want episode 8 to be like Empire Strikes Back in a sense that it takes risks. It gives you what you want without you knowing what you want. It puts your characters, episode 5 in particular, puts all of our characters, including the new ones, including Palpatine, the Emperor, when he's talking to Vader in that one scene, you have the sense that the Emperor is not upset, he's not threatened, but he feels like Luke could potentially be a threat to them. And so he's a little uncomfortable. You have your new characters like Yoda, who's like, I don't want to train this guy. He's too old, he's too stubborn, he has anger in him. I don't want to train this guy. So he's put in a difficult decision. Lando Calrissian is put in a difficult decision where he has to give up Han, their old pals, their old buddies. He has to give him up to the Empire. And it gets worse all the time. Han is obviously put in a bad position. Leia's put in a bad position. She has to watch as the man that she loves could potentially die right in front of her. Chewie's put in a difficult spot. Luke is put in a very difficult spot where he either stays and completes his training and has the best possible chance of beating Vader and the Emperor, or he can go off and he can try to save his friends, but lose that time in training. And Yoda says, "You will, for everything that you have fought for, it will be lost." And so you have every character put in a difficult decision and a difficult situation in Empire Strikes Back, and that's something that I hope Episode 8 does, The Last Jedi. I hope that does it in the same vein, to where all your characters from the first movie, they're all put in difficult decisions, because that's where you get your heroes from. You don't get your heroes from, some rich guy who's never had to do something in his life. You don't get your heroes from those kind of people. You get your heroes from people who have gone through adversity, and they go through adversity and they become better characters for that. Han, he becomes a better character because now we see him falling in love with Leia. We see him in the beginning of this movie on Hoth, how him and Leia are having arguments, but it's never an argument to where they want to break up. It's an argument, but it's an argument that almost makes them love each other more for it, because they're so stubborn, yet they both love each other, and you see that through their arguments, how they don't want to leave the other one alone because they want to spend time with each other. You have Luke, who was the farm boy. He was the noob. He was the recruit. He was the rookie in episode 4. Now he's a little bit older, but he hasn't gone through the training. You see him at the very beginning. He gets taken by the Wampa, like by surprise. He has to really concentrate hard to get his lightsaber back. You have your characters put in difficult decisions, and you have your characters who have grown up a little bit since your last movie, but yet they still have a lot to learn. They still have a lot to go through in order to get to where they end up in the end of this movie in particular. All in all, I personally believe that this is without a doubt the best movie that is in the Star Wars franchise so far. I haven't seen episode 8 yet, so That could change here literally in a couple days. So, don't hold me to this if in my episode 8 review I'm like, you know what, this one's pretty perfect, But this movie, episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back, is honestly one of the best movies I've ever seen. And it's not just because I love Star Wars. It's not just because of that. It's because it's a great film. It's something that stands up. It stands the test of time. It's not perfect, but that no movie is perfect. Citizen Kane is not perfect, The Godfather is not perfect. So don't worry about it being perfect. Is it amazing? Yes. Does it have the best twist in cinematic history? Yes. Nobody saw that coming, yet it works so well, and it's such a it turns the entire world of Star Wars on its head, but at the same time keeping it consistent. Yes, from a certain point of view, but hey, don't worry about that. I mean, seriously, would you like to know that your father was the right-hand man for Hitler? No, neither would I. So I understand where Obi-Wan was coming from. This film is so good in the sense that you don't need episode 4. You don't need episode 6 for this film to be amazing. You could have this by itself and it'll still be an amazing film. But the fact that you do have episode 4 before it and you do have episode 6 after it makes this one even that much more better, because you have the pre-existing characters that we get to know even more and we get to love and spend more time with them, but you also get the introductions of very important characters like Palpatine and Yoda, and just one of the coolest characters ever in Lando, and another amazingly cool character in Boba Fett. That's something that this movie does well. Like, yes, the first movie introduced you to Han Solo, great. Chewie, great. But like, you get those characters in episode 5, and you get them in a large amount. You get them in amazing roles. You get Harrison Ford doing probably his best acting ever, in my opinion, in this movie. But you also get the brand new characters. You also get one of the best stories. You get one of the greatest twists. You get everything that you could possibly want from a great movie in episode 5. Bringing this review to a close, I just want to say that Empire Strikes Back honestly should be influential to every single Star Wars movie that comes out from now until whenever they stop making Star Wars movies. And it's not because it's just a great film, but it's because of the decisions that they made. It's because of why they made the decisions. They made every single decision, including the twist of Darth Vader being Luke's father. They made those decisions because they worked. That's the main thing. If you're going to make a movie and you're going to take risks, make sure what you are taking the risk on, make sure that works. Make sure that works for the story. And then you can use it. And then it'll be an amazing plot point. And that's something that every movie, not only Star Wars movies, but every movie should be willing to take those risks, to challenge your audience, to give them something new, something different, something that they weren't expecting. And that's why episode 5 is so good, is because you have your great characters, you have a great romance, you have great new characters that have been introduced, and the introduction of those new characters are perfect. But you have great filmmaking, you have great risk taking, and that's something that is very, very difficult to do, especially when you're talking about multi-million-dollar movies. You usually want to play it safe. People, when they're making movies, they tend to play it safe, but that's not what makes great movies great. Sometimes you just gotta put it out there. Yes, you can get ridiculed, you can get, your movie can bomb at the box office, but if you keep doing that, if you keep taking risks, you're gonna hit. And if you do it right, and if it works for the story, like episode 5, and everything in episode 5 does work for the story, you're gonna make a great movie. And that's what I hope episode 8 is. When I go and see it, when I see it for the first time, I hope all my expectations are subverted. I hope that they take risks. I hope that they give me what I want before I even know what I want. You know what I'm saying? I hope that they take those risks, they go out on the limb, and I hope it works for the story. You know, don't just go out on a limb because you want to go out on the limb. Go out on the limb, but make sure that it works in the story. And that's something that this movie does, and why it is such a great movie, because it didn't care. It threw caution to the wind. George Lucas and Irvin Kershner were like, you know what? We're gonna do something different, and that's something that just that gets down into my soul. And when I watch movies and I can predict everything that's going to happen in your movie might be well done, but it's not going to be an amazing experience, because sometimes you need to be baffled in the theater. Sometimes you need to just not be able to see what comes next. Well, that's my review of episode 5. I know I don't get all technical with my reviews, but hey, this movie has been broken down and technically reviewed for the last 7 years, so I'm kind of late to the game. I was just giving my thoughts on the movie and why future movies like episode 8 probably will and should emulate this movie. But that is only my thoughts. I want to know what you think. I want to know what you think is the best Star Wars movie. I want to know why you think your pick is the best Star Wars movie. I want to know your thoughts on episode 5. Why do you think it's so good? Why do you think it works so well? So tell me your thoughts either in the comment section down below or on the Facebook page, facebook.com/ccinemareviews page, or on Twitter @ccinemareviews. And if you've enjoyed this and you haven't subscribed to this channel yet, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, because I will be doing my spoiler review of episode 8 probably Saturday or Sunday. I'm gonna give you some time to go watch it, so I don't particularly enjoy non-spoiler reviews, because you don't really get to talk about the movie when you can't talk about what happens in it. So I'll wait. I'll get on my spoiler review this weekend. So definitely check back on the channel Saturday or Sunday for that review. With that being said, I will leave you, and thank you for watching this video, and may the Force be with you.